Go to example 6 in your notes, and we're going to solve parts A and B for quadratic equations. For the first step, we're going to subtract 4 from both sides to get x squared by itself. So I'll get x squared equals -4. And now that we know how to take the square root of negatives, we're going to have x is plus or minus the square root of -4. And we can see that we can break this down into square root -1 times square root of 4. So x will equal plus or minus 2i. For part B, I'm going to start by adding 11 to both sides. And then my next step will be to divide both sides by 2. So I'll get x squared equals -18. When I take the square root of both sides, I have the square root of -18. Don't forget the plus or minus. And what can we break that up into? So since 18 is 9 times 2, I can say this is plus or minus. Square root of 9 is 3i square root 2. Now take a look at example 7, and we're going to do the same thing, except the directions look a little bit different. So they say to find the zeros, and that just means set this equal to 0 and solve for x. So my first step is subtract 20 from both sides. I get 4x squared equals -20. And what's my next step? Divide both sides by 4. I get x squared equals -5. And then I take the square root of both sides. Now when I take the square root, I can't leave my answer like square root of negative. So I have to replace this with an I. I have to replace that with I. So I'll say my final answer is plus or minus I square root 5. And we can't reduce that. So there's our answer.